We're all feeling a little bit disillusioned and disheartened with the state of the world. Whether it's from the cost of living crisis, rising poverty and inequality, lack of access to healthcare and other public services, the climate crisis and increased natural disasters, loneliness and isolation, or the wealth of other issues that are currently plaguing human society. Across the world, people are feeling increasingly fed up with the status quo. So why aren't more people turning towards leftist ideas like anarchism or communalism, but instead turning towards fascism and right-wing ideologies? And how could we use the power of marketing to get them back? I guess I may as well start this video with a disclaimer. I hate marketing, which is ironic given that my day job is basically doing comms and social media for a wildlife charity. But I really do hate the idea of the attention economy, of the endless banners, adverts, and addictive algorithms forcing consumerism down our throats. I hate how even good causes, non-profits, and movements have to be built on the back of a system engineered for the accumulation of profit. Some say that anything inherently disruptive to the system we currently live in shouldn't be relying on the idea of marketing at all, as the very idea of marketing has and always will be capitalist. After all, by its very nature, marketing forces things and ideas down our throats, using psychology and design engineering to catch our attentions and manipulate us as much as possible. But here's the thing, I don't think leftism has done a good job so far of getting people to engage with our ideas. And that's mostly because we haven't been co-opting the methods of marketing that the capitalists use. The way in which a brand built around something as simple as a f***ing sponge with a face cut into it has racked millions of followers across social media shows that the power of marketing, when done right, can basically change the collective psyche. Now, I'm not going to say too much about how brands and companies have changed marketing tactics over the years to really keep our attentions grabbed and become rooted in our brains, because I'm sure you're already all aware of how consumerism is being ham-fisted down your throats at any given moment. But it's not just for-profit companies that are using marketing to their advantage to sell a product. Both the state and individuals also use marketing to sell ideas. Governments, for a start, have been using propaganda since time immemorial to reinforce the idea that the state is an omnipresent and inescapable, yet benevolent, force in our lives. Recently, like the French government, they've turned to social media to try and get young people back on their side by making short-form video content praising themselves.
In France, when we do something, it often ends up iconic. This radio antenna, for example, iconic. Or a gift to a friend, iconic. A little something for breakfast, iconic.
A little colonialism and committing atrocities across the world, iconic. To absolutely no one's surprise, the British government has also been using social media to try and get young people back on their side, and have hired absolutely iconic marketing gurus to do the job for them. The Home Office's Instagram, which is, and I quote, "the UK Government Department for Immigration and Passports, Crime and Policing, Homeland Security, and Protecting Vulnerable People," makes brilliant content such as this post about how 90% less weed is arriving in our post boxes, or how this random man was apprehended for stealing fizzy drinks from a fast food chain, coupled with some trending music. Over on YouTube, the Foreign Development and Commonwealth Office puts out bangers like this random one-episode cooking show in solidarity with Ukraine. Any mentions of Palestine anywhere, anyone? Talking about cooking shows, this seems to be one of the main ways the government thinks that they're going to get the general public to find our representatives fun and relatable, as when our now Prime Minister Wet Wipe Keir went on Channel 4 to cook a salmon dinner. Boris Johnson also makes an appearance making mince pies over on the Tories YouTube channel, and even millionaire Rishi Sunak, who has doubtless never cooked a day in his life, appears posing over some food he's cooked at some point during his PR campaign. Other branches of the state also try and fail to use modern marketing methods to get people to bootlick, like the police. Here, the Met Police shines a light on their brilliant and charismatic officers of the law. Whoops, not those ones. Such as PC Kip, who apparently has got game and the tea on policing. Because what better way to get the young uns on board with the violent and authoritarian state-controlled police force than by co-opting their language?
Yes, a baton is part of the equipment we carry. It's very rare you would use it though. As you can imagine, a baton is an extremely high level of force, as if you struck someone with this, it could really hurt.
At least citizens like middle-class Mike think this kind of video is excellent engagement. Other, more minor branches of the police have also put their marketing interns up to the task of making the police cool again. The Derbyshire Constabulary thinks that having police officers voice over sock puppets is going to win them brownie points.
Down here. Come in through. Oh look, come in through.
Alright ladies, listen, that hunky army sergeant sounds like a scammer.
Whilst the Sussex police thought that glamorising wanted criminals would get them trending. Unfortunately, the original video has since been deleted, meaning we can only assume whichever poor intern came up with that idea later got a clobbering. As you can see, the police, and in fact most of the British government, is trying and failing to get themselves more well-liked by harnessing the power of social media. This is also often known as propaganda, and can include things like TV shows or cartoons. And I'm not even going to touch on military propaganda, which is a whole other ballgame, especially over in the US.
In the midst of an uncertain and evolving world, the need for Marines to defeat these shifting threats is critical. Because the need to ensure stability for our nation has never been greater.
Seriously, what the f*** is this? Why does everything look so sci-fi, and why are there birds turning into drones? Okay, firstly, why do any of these branches of our state even need social media? Let's pretend for a second that the state really was fully benevolent and democratic. Its purpose should be to serve its citizens as best it can in the ways that its citizens choose, as well as to inform its citizens of the ways they can receive the support they are entitled to. In which case, resources that its citizens give it, such as through money, like through taxes, should only be used to provide these services and directly inform about them, like by setting up efficient communication streams with the National Health Service, or even deploying consensual alarms on people's phones during periods of natural disasters. Efforts wasted on random Instagram reels about someone stealing drinks from a Greggs, or like one episode YouTube cooking shows seen by 0.003% of the British population, literally does not apply to either of these cases. Neither of these pieces of content are providing a service to the citizens of the country or informing the citizens of the country about these services they are entitled to. Clearly, the sole purpose of any of these marketing efforts are to sway the general British public's opinions about the police, the military, and the state. Especially young people who are feeling increasingly disenfranchised with the way things are. Luckily for us in the UK, these efforts are a pile of shit. And the only ones actually falling for them are those who are already halfway up the state and the police's assholes, like middle-class Mike. But the state isn't the only entity using social media to market political ideas. Individuals and organisations with various monetary agendas are too. And they're doing a lot better job at it than the state. Unfortunately for us, the common theme between them seems to be that most of them are right-wing. I'm sure most of you have heard of the manosphere by now. The influencers like Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, or the many others who are preying on the insecurities of young boys, to funnel them into a pipeline heading straight to misogyny. They do this by harnessing a variety of marketing tactics. Podcasts, live streams, memes, short-form video content, and even creating chat rooms and community spaces where these men and boys can talk to each other about the issues they are facing, such as isolation, loneliness, and low life satisfaction. The manosphere, instead of then presenting real solutions to these problems, such as the need for communities to band together to create better third spaces, direct the negative emotions these men are feeling and expressing towards women. The manosphere is an obvious example of how the right are really good at taking the raw emotion people are feeling towards obvious societal problems and directing them to a place of hatred and toxicity. But they aren't the only example. Politicians are also great at doing this, especially right-wing populists like Trump or Farage, who have grown a cult-like following by utilising marketing. Farage, for example, uses the anger of the working class in the UK due to the fact they can't afford to do anything anymore because of the cost of living crisis to fuel his campaign against the woke and the immigrants, and it fucking works. Why? Because he gets to the roots of the issues real people are facing, makes content to make it look like he's on their level, and then proposes his solution, which further preys on people's anger.
Off we go. This is it, start of the day campaigning in the Runcorn and Helsby by-election. Have a great day, everybody. Save British farming. And I'm right, Labour are don't they?
This is happening all over the world with the right. They're learning how to harness the power of marketing to literally bury themselves into people's psyche. Let's face it, even Trump's four-word "Make America Great Again" slogan sounds better and more catchy than anything any left-wing party has come up with in modern times. I mean, the fact I can't even think of any to give as an example kind of proves that point. Beyond slogans, campaigning politicians, and the manosphere, entire aesthetics have also been co-opted by the right. Cottagecore, which on the surface is an aesthetic about escaping the city, frolicking in a summer meadow, and eating and foraging for natural foods, is obviously attractive to many people who are disillusioned with the nature-poor and hyper-productive life they are leading. Unfortunately, even this harmless-looking aesthetic is being used by right-wingers to subtly market a conservative and traditional way of life. Influencers like Nara Smith, who makes cottagecore looking cooking videos, or Ballerina Farm, who makes content glamorizing farmsteading, are actually religious fundamentalists who promote right-wing ideologies like tradwifing or anti-abortion, and just generally prey on people's desires for a simpler life to softly promote conservatism. The question is, with all of these individuals and for-profits and states using marketing to manipulate people into consuming unnecessarily, or to sticking to the status quo, or even to embarking on a pipeline to conservatism, what are we, the left, doing to counter it? And why does our marketing, in comparison, just kinda suck? I'm not going to go into the whole history of leftist marketing because frankly we'll be here forever, and also I'm not a historian, but in general there are a few different ways that leftist movements have marketed themselves in the past. For example, there's the agitprop from the Soviet era, the three-word slogan of the suffragettes, the brochures and recognizable mascot of the Black Panther Party, and of course the evergreen symbols which have managed to root themselves into the collective psyche, like the raised fist against oppression, which has been used by anti-colonialist, anti-apartheid, Black Power, and anti-fascist movements, amongst others. But with the rise of social media, which the right has managed to harness pretty well, what is the state of leftist marketing in the modern day? Firstly, I want to take a look at a space which you could say is adjacent to the left. And that is the space which philanthropy, charities, and most environmental organisations occupy. I say adjacent because philanthropy itself only needs to exist because we live under capitalism. So it's really just a way of redirecting money and resources to social and environmental causes from within the system, rather than trying to build an alternative system, which is usually the root of leftist movements. This whole thing is often called the non-profit industrial complex, but I'm not going to touch on that too much in this video. Anyway, I feel like charities and environmental causes, perhaps because they are already ready to take advantage of the current system to further their own goals, including by using all of the marketing tools at their disposal, often do a good job at reaching people. Whether it's a bird charity using the TikTok algorithm to get people to care about birds, the WWF's widespread adverts and campaigns which get them millions in donations, or this random environmental account on Instagram close to amassing 1 million followers. All of these environmental causes have managed to find a niche and utilize the capitalist tools at their disposal to market important themes and ideas. Unfortunately, although the environmental movement seems to have harnessed the power of marketing fairly well, environmentalism alone, especially the kind that is still rooted in a capitalist mindset, is not going to save us. We need a marketing strategy that is holistic, encompasses all of the ideas of the left, and presents real solutions to the real problems people are facing in their lives, with steps they can make to build a better world and make change. One movement on the left recently which has done this pretty well is of course the pro-Palestine movement, with social media accounts springing up everywhere, collaborating with already established activists, getting into the news cycle, and making a complete variety of content from podcasts to picture content to short-form and long-form videos to articles to even real-life forms of guerrilla marketing, like replacing the adverts in bus stops. The movement for a free Palestine has reached most people's ears. Recently, the Freedom Flotilla, the Madeleine story, was a prominent example of this. I remember opening my social media feed one day and literally every post was this, as activists and accounts from the environmental and social spheres reposted the same graphic to raise awareness for the Madeleine's journey to delivering crucial aid to Gaza. Spontaneously arising surges of leftists using marketing well to support specific causes is super useful and critically important, especially when we're talking about a genocide. But I feel like this doesn't solve our aforementioned problem. The left, as a whole and holistic movement, usually doesn't do a good job of marketing itself, which is why we're losing people to the alt-right pipeline. Ask a centrist to think of leftism and what comes to their mind. Maybe it's the red Soviet flag with the hammer and sickle, which in their mind could be tied to authoritarianism and communism. Maybe it's chaos and violent protests, which in their mind could be tied to the word anarchy. Or maybe it's just some dumb meme they've seen on Reddit about how wokeness is destroying everything good in their lives. That's not to say that all general leftist marketing does a poor job. We do have spaces with strong roots in place, like over here on BreadTube, with many BreadTubers discussing leftist ideas and tying these into real issues, solutions, and even other themes such as philosophy or pop culture. There are also many other social and climate and environmental activists on other platforms creating content to viral trends and audio in order to redirect people's attentions to social and environmental causes. And as mentioned previously, there are even other forms of marketing being undertaken, such as guerrilla marketing, where people remove adverts from bus stops and other places and replace these with meaningful messages. Yet still, even with all of this in place, we are seeing people turn the other way, towards capitalism and the right. So why is this? Personally, I think there's a number of things going on here. One, people are confused by all the forms of leftism. With so much propaganda already thrown at them since childhood, the lack of clarity as to what exactly communism or anarchism actually are, and how these would look like in real life, especially how these would actually change people's lives for the better, only leads to confusion and frustration. People are already struggling with surviving under capitalism, especially the working class, so I completely understand why they'd fall into the trap of watching sensationalist, easy to understand right-wing content, such as from Jordan Peterson or Nigel Farage or any other mouthpiece of the right. Because realistically, who would rather listen to a breadtuber natter on about some niche topic for 45 minutes on their commute home from work, rather than slipping on a podcast of bros laughing and joking and blaming easy to target demographics for all of their problems? I say that as someone who is literally a niche video essayist YouTuber, and yeah, I know sometimes this medium just isn't the best way to reach people these days. But also the right are presenting easy, clickable solutions to people's problems, which the left just aren't doing in the same way, without infighting or confusion mixed in. Struggling to find a job? It's the immigrants who are taking all of them. Solution? Deport them. Struggling to find a romantic connection? It's all these feminist women playing you and using you for your money. Solution? Bring back tradwifing and the nuclear family. Struggling to pay your bills, your rent or mortgage, your taxes, your food? It's the benefit scroungers who are taking your hard-earned cash. Solution? Take away the social safety net, so the worthy can keep more of their earnings. Explaining that the root causes of these three issues, lack of jobs, lack of human connection, and lack of a comfortable lifestyle, is actually due to our growth-oriented system, is a lot more complicated than the right's quick fixes. And we just haven't got good at marketing this, or presenting what a viable alternative could actually look like. We on the left actively need a marketing strategy we can all get behind to stop people from falling into the rabbit hole of the alt-right and actually get them to want and work towards a world which is better for them. This movement needs to be holistic. It needs to directly address solutions to people's problems, and it needs to present a viable alternative to capitalism with steps on how to get there. But it also needs to be memeable, marketable, aesthetified. It needs to capture people's attentions and imaginations. It needs to be able to be both serious and humorful. It needs to hold a space for both creativity and science. It needs to entertain and inform, to utilize all of the marketing tools available at our disposal, whether guerrilla marketing, short-form video content, long-form video content, images, posts, articles, news, physical ads and campaigns, as well as seamlessly slide into our pop culture, our music and books and movies and games. So what could this movement be? Well, we already have it, ready to be used for our gain. It's called Solarpunk. To summarize, Solarpunk is an aesthetic and movement that imagines and encourages people to actively work towards a more sustainable future. And even though for-profits and capitalists might already be trying to co-opt the Solarpunk movement to center it around green capitalism and skyscrapers full of plants, Solarpunk is inherently a movement rooted in decolonialism, post-capitalism, counterculturalism, anti-authoritarianism, community, and DIY, as reflected by the suffix in its name, the punk part. In fact, there already is a branch of leftism that also has all of these features. Anarchism. Anarchism is rooted in the idea that people can organize themselves. We do not need a higher power, state, or capitalist class to shape our lives for us. At its heart, anarchism is about rejecting hierarchy, and instead prioritizing values such as autonomy, horizontal organizing, mutual aid, and voluntary association. Anarchism isn't just about waiting for the utopic world to arrive. It's about rejecting the current system and building the world we want to live in its place, such as through prefigurative politics. In fact, I have a whole video about prefiguration linked up here if you want to go and check it out. Although some argue that anarchism is a social movement and thus neglects the more environmental or climate side of leftism that we need to prioritize when thinking about reshaping our world. Because, you know, the climate and ecological crisis are probably our two biggest threats to human life on Earth, except maybe the dick swinging contest that is currently happening between the leaders of the global north and their nukes. I would say that a lot of writings on anarchism do highlight the need to prioritize climate and ecology within anarchist theory. Also, anarchism is about rejecting hierarchy in general, which should also include rejecting the hierarchy between humans and nature, and so promote symbiosis with the natural world. Still, anything climate or environmental related is still not often associated with social leftist movements, such as anarchism. And that is where Solarpunk can come in handy, for two reasons. One, being inherently tied to nature and sustainability, Solarpunk could act as a good bridge between the more social roots of anarchism and the more green roots of modern leftist and environmental movements. Two, anarchism has kind of a bad rep in general in the public, with people having this idea in their heads that it's linked to chaos or disorder or violence. Fronting with Solarpunk and themes of harmony with the natural world could then be a good lead-in to convert those unsure of anarchism towards it, to use the aesthetic of Solarpunk to showcase what anarchism really means, and what a more positive future version of Earth could actually look like. So we've established we can use Solarpunk as a front to market the modern left and anarchism, but how are we actually going to do this successfully by using the modern marketing tools at our disposal? Well, Solarpunk already has a small but growing community online. The subreddit Solarpunk has 160,000 members, whilst YouTubers like Andrewism, who focuses on anarchism and Solarpunk, has over 200,000 subscribers. And other big YouTubers such as Our Changing Climate or Dammy Lee have also covered the topic. Environmental accounts like Earthly Education on Instagram also often use Solarpunk aesthetics in their memes. And there have even been yogurt commercials based around the Solarpunk aesthetic. But yeah, that's about it. I don't think I've ever talked to someone in real life who has ever heard of the movement before, and that includes leftists and even anarchists. Solarpunk is still a very niche thing, and when it is used or discussed, it is still very much tied to Ghibli-esque or cottagecore aesthetics, with many completely missing its inherently punk and anarchist roots. But do you know what's great about small emerging movements? They haven't had a chance to be fully co-opted by the capitalist class yet, which means we need to jump in and use Solarpunk to our advantage before they do. I guess this is where my video becomes a call to action. We've seen what's going on in the world right now. Between the ongoing genocide in Gaza, Israel's continued reign of terror on other sovereign countries, the anti-ICE protests in LA, the fact we are still plummeting headfirst into the climate and ecological crises, and all the other negative impacts of late-stage capitalism and imperialism. People are f***ing fed up. Fed up of being abused by this shit system that ruins everything good about life on this planet. The energy is out there for a new world, a better world. Millions and even billions want it. But many just don't know where to turn, and that's how the capitalists and the right catch them. Now is our chance to use, and I mean really use, marketing to our advantage. We need to claim Solarpunk and use it to inspire, educate, entertain, and most importantly, bring hope and action to leftist movements. We need more Solarpunk influencers, memes, guerrilla marketing, ads, long-form and short-form video content, podcasts, films, books, music, and art, all rooted in anarchism and bridging the gaps between social and ecological regeneration, between acting now and envisioning the future we want to live in. I want to see anarchist Solarpunk content everywhere, and not just in the niche we're already stuck in. I want to see people inspiring others on how to solve their problems through community building, horizontal decision making, and social and ecological regeneration. And then bringing Solarpunk into that. That means talking about community farms and housing cooperatives, repair workshops and tool libraries, rewilding and skill sharing networks, guerrilla gardening and squatting, unionizing and protesting, and all the other ways we can act now, partnered with envisioning all the ways we could imagine the world to be, were it a more equitable, sustainable, and horizontally organized place. We need Solarpunk to break out of its bubble and be a movement that all can claim, regardless of their issues, whether old or young, from the global north or the global south, in the physical or in the digital space. We need to outpace the marketing of consumerist corporations, of the countries and the governments of the world, and of the right-wingers trapping more and more people into their toxic rhetoric. It's a challenge, but I think we can do it. Together. Thank you for watching this video, everyone, and let me know what you think about how we can better market leftism in the comment section down below, or how you plan to help spread anarchism and Solarpunk. See you in the next one. Bye!